Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the R Studio. Yeah, I just made that joke. Joy. So I've got a last tiny little recording um, that I'm going to cover right now on visualizing categorical data. This will be pretty short. Um, but yeah, let's just dive right in. Let's just dive right in. Now? Okay. So, in case you forgot or took a break in between videos, remember that we got lots of types of data, variables for numerical data. We've got continuous or discrete, which are based essentially on whether a value can take an infinite number of values or if it can only take on non-negative whole number values. In contrast, we have categorical, and that can be ordinal based if there are some kind of a rank order of some flavor, or not, then it's just kind of a qualitative grouping. Cool. There's lots of remember this? So, remember that Star Wars data that I talked about like a gazillion years ago in a galaxy far away? Well, it's back. I've given us a little glimpse, or not a glimpse, but now I've given us a glimpse of the data. So we're going to be working with it today, and I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of data like reshaping and recoding. So here, what I'm doing is in anticipation of where we're going to go, spoilers, we're going to mutate our hair color and essentially group together everything that is not black, brown, or blonde. I do not know why I have brown listed twice. I literally don't. But it's there, and I am not going to redo it because we never see this video. Ever. So, yeah, and we'll learn way more about mutation and various other kind of data wrangling techniques. But I just want to show you that this exists. So, let's do a blah, blah, blah. Let us do a bar plot. Here, just a standard bar plot, we're going to plot the distribution of Star Wars characters by gender. Now, I did not make this data set, so they classified gender as feminine or masculine or not applicable. So that's what we're using. You are welcome to recode it if you would like, but for the sake of this illustration, I'm not going to. So we can see here, it's a count variable by group. We have less than 20 Star Wars characters in our data set who qualify as quote feminine. Over 60 who are masculine, and a handful that are neither, or have missing data. That's what NA indicates. And all we've done is mapped X to gender and added geom bar. We can do some cool things though, like fill by hair color, and this is why we grouped those for later. But right now, here's the raw hair color. We can see there's a wide variety ranging from auburn to unknown, as well as a couple masculine characters who don't have any. And by none, I mean they have missing data there, as opposed to none, which is apparently an option. There are a lot of bald men in the Star Wars universe. Fun facts. Okay, so that is a segmented bar plot where we are looking at raw counts. We can also, as you can see here, I've broken it up by those new hair color codings. And it seems to be now working with a black, blonde, brown, and other. kind of give us a broader break, or I kind of grouping them all together breakdown. Now I'm flipping them here just because I wanted to show that you can. An alternative would be to swap plot gender with on the y-axis instead of the x-axis. That should do the same thing, but I didn't do that here. Alright, so here's another way we can do it. Instead of as raw counts, we can look at proportions. And all we need to do for that is set the position to fill under geobar. So essentially it fills out the entire range for our data. So it doesn't like break it down as a proportion, or it doesn't like show it. Sorry, the heater is heating. But my point is here is that we've broken it down slightly differently than in the previous version. Here, just counts. Here, proportions. Now, and you can ask yourself which is more useful for visualizing the relationship between gender and hair color. Well, I will leave that up to you, dear viewer, because as the answer to most things in life, it depends on your goal. Like, what do you want to emphasize? Do you want to emphasize the gender imbalance of Star Wars? Then you probably want to use count. Do you want to emphasize that the distributions of hair seem to be pretty dominated by other? Then you would use the proportion. It really depends on what story you are trying to tell. Now we can do some cool things like customize bar plots by adding in labels, including proportion, gender, label fill, and add title and things like that. I encourage you to do those. And here also you'll notice that I've set that aesthetic to Y for gender, and it flipped it by itself without having to manually do it. Does it make a big difference in the end? Probably not, but there might be some scenario in which you'd rather not have to add that flip component to each plot. Instead, you can just change it at the beginning. So now it's your turn. So go to the class repo and the slide cuts out. Yay! Let's go and look at the actual instructions. And perhaps we can solve. Okay. Yeah, so I'm probably flipping this to be silly. Alright, well, anyway, so you want to go to the class repo and start activity 3, which is Star Wars plus data visualization. You can either make download the repo as a template to make your own version, or you can just fork the original. It does not matter to me. Each has advantages and disadvantages. So then you want to open your Markdown document and complete the exercises. And if you have some extra time, please feel free to work your way through the entire thing, as opposed to kind of like, because I have some stretch goals at the end. Okay, so that's almost a wrap. I've got like 3 more slides. Let's do that. I'm still have not mastered the hotkeys shortcut. So yeah, I will solve the mystery of why this link is not clickable later. And we'll touch on relationships amongst numerical and categorical variables right now. We've already talked about a lot of these, including like coloring and faceting, histograms and density plots, as well as side-by-side box plots. Let's show you some cool violin plots using the geom violin. Now we're jumping back to that homeownership data. Really, I just didn't want to have the activity be homeownership. I wanted to play with Star Wars data because that's more fun. But anyway, violin plot is a kind of a nice way to present a distribution of data, similar to how a histogram or a box and whisker plot does it, but instead of kind of having a simplified representation with the bars, you plot the distribution itself on its side. And you can set it so that the width is a function of the quantity, but it shows you the shape of the data. You can tilt it, either flip it directly or in your mind. Or if I were a braver lady, I would grab my computer and tilt it manually. But I'm not going to do that because I'm so close to being done with this module of recordings. Like so close, we're like a slide away. 2 slides or 3. But anyway, violin plots, super cool. Ridge plots, also pretty cool. Here we're doing density, so it's like a density plot, but it allows you to add a category without having them directly overmask. I mean, yes, they do overlap a little, but it adds an extra dimension to kind of give you a sense of how their heights differ while not having to like visually like slice them up. Ridge plots be pretty cool. So that's it. That is it for Module 2. We are done. Well, the recordings are done. I still have to edit them. But yeah, so I'd like to thank Mina, who's mine. I will eventually pronounce her name correctly, because she's glorious and wonderful, and I really appreciate that she made the labs. They're great. They're really straightforward. They really help with scaffolding so that I can spend my time making these silly videos. So yeah, that's it. Bye!